Some of this will be a little bit of a review, but I want to show you a few ways that you can adjust different parts of your image in order to kind of visually cohere the image together or make it interesting in a new way. So what we're going to be doing is playing around with color balancing the layers, and then also some different filters that you can add to layers. So what you're going to do is, I'm in the Move tool here in the upper left hand corner of Photoshop, and I have my Move tool set to auto select layer, which means every time I click on something it selects that layer automatically in my layer panel, and so that's the layer that I'm going to be editing. Okay, so I'm going to select, so you'll be using the document of images that you compiled from items that were not part of the original tutorial, but I'm just using this one as a sample. So yours will look totally different. But so select one object, and what you're going to do then is you're going to go to Image, Adjustments, Color Balance. And this is what you would do if you would want to change the tone or tint of your object. Maybe you want it to be a little bit more bright and noticeable, so I can play around with that. And then again, a review from some of the other tutorials. This way of doing it is destructive editing. So when you do it in this way, it's actually changing the pixels here, and you can never get those original pixels back. So it will continue to degrade your image. So when you edit in this way, you want to make sure that you are editing it in a way that you're going to like it for good, because you don't want to keep doing it. Okay, so I'll click OK, and so now I've color adjusted that layer. The other way you can do it is through non-destructive editing, so I can choose that same color balance here, and now it's actually creating a color balance layer. The problem though is that now that's going to affect everything underneath that layer. Okay, so so you kind of have to decide. If you just want to affect one object, then you have to do the more destructive style of editing. But the nice thing is now I can click on that and just delete it. So now it's gone. Okay. So another thing that you can do that's kind of fun to play around with is select a different object on your document, and you're going to go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and then Photo Filter. Add just like a sepia tone to everything to make it feel more olden style, because some of you might have chosen a historical event that's from the past, and so you want your whole image to sort of have an antique look about it. So photo filters can help with that. So if you click on Photo Filter and click OK, then you've got these options are popped up over here under Properties, and you can click on the different warming filters or sepia tones, and you can make it more dense. So now it feels a little older, all right? But again, this style of editing is going to affect everything underneath it. So you want to be just cautious about that, because if there's a certain object that you don't want to be affected by this filter, you're going to have to drag it up above the filter in your layers panel. So see, now that's not affecting this object. Okay, so that's another adjustment layer that you can try. And then the other thing that you can do is, so I'm going to click on an object here. I'll select this one. And if I go to Layer, New Fill Layer, I can choose a solid color and click OK. And then I could, now this doesn't seem to have much of a use because now my whole image is gone. But if I click OK, I can actually change then the opacity on this, so it gives it kind of like a foggy look, which might be interesting. So that's another thing that you can do, is add just a whole fill layer, and there's other uses for fill layers too, so anything that you find useful, go ahead and use it at other points. Then the other thing, the last thing I'll show you, is this actual like filter gallery, where you can do these kind of, you can get a little carried away with this for sure. But if you click on Filter Gallery, it'll actually take that object into the filter gallery, and you can try different filters on that particular object. And now, whoa, that has a really funky look to it, right? that's something that is super useful, as well as that filter gallery. So again, we went to filter gallery, or you can select, these are the things that are within the filter gallery, but I kind of like doing just the whole filter gallery because then I can see an example of it, and then I can just like test out a bunch of different ones, so that's kind of fun. And then whenever I'm done, I can click OK, and then it will apply that one to it. Again, this is a destructive style of editing, so you want to make sure that you're not doing this too much because it is degrading the pixels here, but that's kind of a fun thing to do as well.